Pua versus the Black Pill. My name is Jared Mello, author of Radical Self-Respect, Avoid Falling for the Same BS. Ebook is on Amazon and available now. The audiobook I should be finalizing later today. So very exciting news. You can check out my audiobook version of Radical Self-Respect. I narrate it, and I'm excited to get that out to you. Please tell anyone who you think might benefit. But on to today's video. Pua versus the Black Pill. In the manosphere right now, there's a rift between Pua, pickup artists, game people, and Black Pill folks, which is a segment of MGTOW, I would say, that has gone MGTOW monk. Now, I'm going to give you my thoughts first on Pua. In regards to Pua, I used to be really into Pua, but the issue I would come into is it would be really hard for me when I was focusing on game to not make women the focus of my life. Now, people know the red pill truth that women should be a complement to our lives and not the focus. When I was focusing on game, it was harder to do that. And another thing game teaches is that anyone can become successful with women. Now, that is a point of contention for the Black Pill folks because they say, and I think rightly so, they say, people's genetics and how they look is the most important thing, and you can't teach that, of course. We can all make the most of our looks, but that's as much as we can do. Now, I have noticed some people have a great personality, and that they are able to make up for their lack of looks because they have a good personality. But again, even having a great personality is genetic too. So I think there's something to be said from trying to learn game and trying to become the best version of ourselves. But there really is so much we can do. There is only so much we can do with what we've been given. Some people can get a lot out of what they've been given, but even so, most of the groundwork is already there. And I think I've learned a lot of good stuff about social interactions from game, etc. But like I said, looking back, most time I spent on game would have probably been time better spent on my mission and purpose. Now, the Pua people, they get very upset at the Black Pill folks. They say they're whiners, complainers, defeatists, doom pillars, etc. And I don't really understand why they do that. They may have a slightly negative attitude towards it, the Black Pillars, but I understand exactly where they're coming from. If someone's just a very unattractive person, they haven't been given much gift of a great personality and a sense of humor, and they're not high status, it's going to be very tough for them in this sexual marketplace. Now, the Pua people want you to believe that anyone can become successful. Now, perhaps it's because they have monetary gain at stake, and the more people they get to think that, the better. But I think personally, to go Black Pill, to go MGTOW monk, it's harder for me to do that than it is for me just to go try to continue dating and hooking up with women. It's harder. It takes more discipline and restraint for me to go MGTOW monk, to go refrain from dating for a while. Because if anything for me, I've struggled with a love addiction, being addicted to that whole process. And being addicted to that whole process, of course I gravitated to game. Of course I gravitated to The Laws of Seduction by Robert Greene. Like, I loved all that stuff. But, like I said, I think I was doing all of that stuff from a root of codependency. I was doing it from a root of I was incomplete on my own. And the other thing about game is, unless someone has really strong frame, they will not be very successful in game. Because they'll just be constantly being sucked in to other women's frames. And again, I understand game teaches the opposite, right? Game teaches to have strong frame. Game teaches to have people come into your frame. And game also teaches to not have women be the focus. But again, those were all hard things for me to do. They're hard. When I'm focusing on game, it's hard for me not to pedestalize women. And that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do, of course. And I think when I'm just working on my own life, building a life that I really enjoy, having hobbies, having friends, getting my finances straight, those are all things that I enjoy doing. And the net results of those things, if I'm meant to become successful with women, now, here's the thing. I've had a lot of success with women. Humble brag, I guess. But it's how much of it was my own doing. I think I've been gifted in some ways. I'm an alright looking person. And I have no control over that. Like, I work out, but even then, the ambition I have to work out, that's something I was born with too, I feel like. That's also luck. So I can't take credit for my success with women. Now, with MGTOW folks, or if I'm going to focus on my own life, right, the results will be I could do even better. If I have more status, if I have more prestige, more fame, or more money, I can't help but to do better with women. Now, granted, there are some dudes out there that they won't do well until they become the beta bucks. They won't do well until they have a certain amount of money. And that is also true. And the Chad and Tyrone characters, they can do well with women, regardless of their financial status. They can live in their mom's basement and still be successful. And I get it. That is true too. So, who even really benefits from game? I think this is the sneaky thing here that happens. A lot of the dating coaches out there, they've incorporated game into their purpose. Right? And they have a channel, right? They have a channel like this. They have a course. They give coaching, etc. And so they teach game as part of their purpose. So they don't get too caught up on just the women part. They focus more on the teaching part. So it works for them. And I know a lot of black pillars, they get upset at the PUAs and the dating coach because they think they exploit people. They use people and exploit them for money. And I do think there comes a point where they're right. When someone's charging close to $1,000 an hour for coaching, and I know a couple people off the top of my head that I know who do, I think that's exploitative. Right? And I think coaching and dating coaching is certainly a valid service. I just think it should not be anywhere near as expensive as that. And that's where I think the black pillars are right. They have gone too far. And so, when it's all said and done, people are going to still go after women as men. A minority of men go MGTOW monk mode. And if someone wants to go MGTOW monk, if someone wants to go black pill, I have zero problems with that. I think, hey, whatever makes you happy. Whatever makes you happy. Now, if a black pilled person says to themselves, I actually would be happier if I was successful with women, then I would say, hey, maybe you should take a look at yourself and try to improve. And how much results could improve would really depend on your individual circumstance and your individual scenario. Like a really ugly person who doesn't have a good personality, it will be very tough for you. And I think black pill people get very annoyed at the PUAs for not admitting that enough. And so PUAs will say, well, go hit the gym. Go work on your life too. Become more attractive. And again, though, there's only so much we can do with what we've been given. And so I think the black pillars don't like that disingenuous aspect of PUA. But if we're all to work on ourselves, if you're the black pill person that would actually be happier and is just resentful that they're not good with women, I don't think that resentment is healthy, but how you deal with that resentment is everything. And so, if someone can become content being on their own single, I think that's awesome. And in like Love Addicts Anonymous meetings, that is their goal. To get like dating and sexual sobriety, where they can refrain from all dating interactions and sexual interactions. And I think the growth that you get from that is priceless. To be emotionally independent. And like I said, in my own experience, codependency really pushed my desire to go into game. It wasn't just I wanted to spread my seed. It was like, no, I wanted a feeling. I wanted a feeling of being more whole. I wanted a feeling of feeling better. The feeling that women giving me attraction and love and approval would make me feel better. And to me, that's the wrong motive. That's the wrong motive. And I've noticed the more okay I become with myself, the less game-focused I become. I'm more focused on my own goals. I'm more focused on getting to the next step in my own life, in my hobbies, and what I enjoy. And that's what makes us more attractive to the opposite sex anyway, when we're actually emotionally whole. And again, though, this does all depend on who are you? What do you look like? How tall are you? What's your personality like? What's your status like? Depending on all of those variables, you could have a very different experience than me. And I understand that. And so if someone out there, they don't think they're attractive, they don't think they're an alpha Chad or Tyrone at all, and they've just given up on women, alright, fine. Whatever makes you happy. Live and let live is what I say. Right? And I know they try to look out for the people they think are being exploited by PUAs, but hey, everyone's an adult. Everyone can make their own decisions. I agree. I don't think people should be spending around $1,000 an hour or more for dating coaching, but that's just me. Some people will have to learn the hard way. And so, I think PUA game stuff, does it really help the world? The Black Pillars don't think so. But I think it helps guys. It can help them to become more confident in some cases, as long as it doesn't make them focus on women too much. As long as they don't focus on women as opposed to having them be a complement to their lives. And like I said, for a lot of people, unless they're teaching it, unless they're the dating coach, PUA teacher that is teaching it, they kind of bypass the system, because now that's part of their purpose now. Part of their purpose is teaching game. And so they can get away with it. But if you're not teaching it and you're just a student, I think it's much more difficult for women not to become the focus. And I think we have to realize what are our underlying reasons why. Now, just as being a man, even if you weren't codependent, just biologically speaking, we will want to reproduce and have sex at the very least. That says nothing to marriage, that says nothing about dating, etc. And so we have to deal with that. We have to contend with that. And so the younger someone is, when they go black pill or MGTOW monk, it's yeah, you're still going to have to deal with a sex drive until you're a certain age. And how are you going to handle that? If you want to handle that by going MGTOW monk and just taking care of it yourself, fine. But it's everyone's allowed to do what they want to do. And I don't really care either way what people do, as long as they're really not hurting someone else. So I don't like it when I see the PUAs just calling the black pillars defeatists and doomers. I'm not really a fan of that, because I think the black pillars have a huge point. And they can be very right, depending on their individual circumstance. And I think some understanding in that regard would go a far way. And so, of course, for an attractive person, game is going to be easier. They'll probably have to do much less effort to get much better results than someone who's overweight, can't help it because of genetics, or is just unattractive due to genetics. That person who's unattractive is going to have to do 1,000 times more to become as successful as the guy that has to do nothing. And again, there comes a point where effort towards game, there's a diminishing returns aspect, where the more I focus on game, the actually less successful I have become. Now again, that might have had something to do with my personal codependency, but I think there's something to be said about getting excited about other things. I highly recommend reading F.J. Shark's book, How to Be the Jerk Women Love, because that's what he talks about in that book. He talks about get excited about other things in your life. And I've noticed, people on Instagram, the people who have a good lifestyle, that women come to them, and they have a fun life, they do much better than a lot of guys and have to really work their ass off to learn game. Because they have a situation where women come to them. they can be seen just living their lives and like owning their realities, which is great. But to focus on game, it takes a lot of work. And again, unless it's your purpose to teach game, for most other men, it would be better for them to focus on their own lives and focus on their own purpose and mission. Now, if you also think your purpose and mission is to help people learn game, then great, you can incorporate that in. And you can do to kill the two birds with one stone. But if you don't do that, if you're not going to be teaching it, it's like, how much effort do you really want to put in it? How important is it to really just get your body count up? And for each individual, that's going to be a different answer. Now, whether someone's a musician, or someone's just a regular pickup artist, or has high status in some other way, depending on what people are, it's going to be much easier or much harder, depending on the circumstance. So, like, I think game has its place, and I think MGTOW Monk has its place. And I am not a hater, really, of either, until they cross over. Until the PUA people get upset at the black pillars. It's like, yeah, you know what? Let them live and let live. That's all there is to it. Like, hey, if they don't want to learn game and pick up, who cares? That's like, really, who cares? And then, again, it might just be because of monetary gain. Is that why they care? But, and the black pillars, they want to defend people from being exploited. And I think that's fine too. I think they should be aware. But at the end of the day, people are adults. And if they want to pay someone an exorbitant amount of money for coaching, they can do it. But I think both lanes could get along if they just lived and let live. But those are my thoughts on this. Please let me know below what you think about this video. And thank you very much for watching.